Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, NieR Automata, version 1.1a, Season 2.
Yep, NieR, Season 2, Episode 12. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, in a new place, on a new channel. If you want to know why, see the video from a couple days titled, My Original Account Was Terminated. That kind of thing. However I titled it. I'm not sure how I'm going to title it yet because I haven't done it yet. But either way, going forward, this is where we're going to be for our review stuff for YouTube. This is all that's going to be on YouTube. The reaction parts of these videos will end up on Patreon. Behind a paywall or anything, it's just going to be free. If you want to support us, you can support us on Patreon, whatever. But all that stuff is going to be free. There's not going to be any paywall in case you're wondering about that. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, because of YouTubing, I'm not going to risk it anymore. You know, so did a pretty big TLDR at the end of that video from the other day, and we talked about it in Fire Force yesterday. But I'm going to have to address it in at the beginning of every video we do for a little bit here, especially with the new shows that we will be starting next week. But yeah, so final episode of NieR here for just period. I believe this wraps up the Automata story, where we talked about how I think it's very important that Emil shows up somehow. That's going to be the biggest sticking point for us if he doesn't show up, because then we'll have to really talk about some stuff. But since this is an actual end of the season, unlike Fire Force yesterday, which just wrapped up that half of the season, we'll have a more talked out, prolonged season wrap up, how we felt it did, for the series on the whole, that kind of thing, compared to the game and whatnot. So this video will probably be a little bit longer than usual, but also probably slightly shorter because the reaction bit won't be in here. Not that reaction bits are ever really that long, 2 to 5 minutes at most. So either way, that's just where we're at now. Again, I'm not in a great headspace because I'm still obviously very upset with having my account terminated very unjustly as far as I'm concerned. So if I'm seem a little out of it, it's because I'm still just not feeling great, obviously. But show must go on. Like I said, I will full Michael Scott this if I have to. I don't care. That's stop me from. So either way, just gonna be changing how we put stuff out on YouTube. It's just how it's gonna be. But as for NieR, we are down to 9S and A2, the aforementioned fight that was coming that we talked about. 9S is in full virus mode at this point because of him attaching that 2B arm, which could have done something about and cleaned it up and stuff like that. But he just kind of let the virus take him at this point for obvious reasons. Need I remind everybody that NieR is a tragedy? Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this comes. This has the big E tag for the E ending, which is the big finale ending of the game itself. But we talked about how they might do a true ending, like a fan service ending, something like that. But if that does happen, I'll be kind of surprised because they are making another NieR title for a game here. So this might be their way of leading a canon ending for Automata to be like, this is what happened at the end of Automata. This is how it's going to be. This is what, to expect going into the next game. That kind of thing. As the next game is in the NieRverse. So somebody has to survive somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see if they give us any teases or drops at the end of this. Because this was, in October of last year that this came out. So, obviously, 7-8 months ago at this point. But still, yeah. The game had been confirmed for a while now, even back then. So, anyway, that being said, I'm gonna roll into the reaction here and do the timer-based stuff. And for YouTube, we're gonna push some buttons and watch this, and we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the react or the review and the discussion. So there goes some. Well, alrighty then. That certainly was something. We got the final confrontation between 9S and 8 when everything comes with that. Pretty much the same as in the game. The arc stuff was mentioned. That was part of the E-end. And then we got the player-driven, like, alternate E-ending, which is like a better end forced by, in this case, they put it more on the pods, but the pods were basically acting as the player agent in this case. The pods took the place of what like the player's will to like save these characters had become so beloved over the course of the game and stuff like that. So that was an interesting way to do it. We got 042 telling them to suck it. So that was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I'd say this was reasonable for what it needed to be. The arc stuff, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything with that. Because that could just be like another alternative, like, you know, what happened with the girl in red when the arc landed on another planet kind of deal.
Well, yeah, so like in the original E-ending, which once again I've never actually beaten NieR, I only just know a bunch of things. But from what I know, the original E-end is that 9S gets sent on the arc with the girl in red, and A2 is just kind of left on her own as the last android on Earth.
Yeah, as far as I remember, that's what happens, and then the credits roll, and then you literally get that like data stream corruption that we got during the credits here, where the pods are like trying to like delete all your data, and then you have to like fight to. It's like this really insane bullet hell, like maybe not like I want to be the guy kind of crazy bullet hell, but still a pretty insane bullet hell. And yeah, so you're literally fighting to protect the data and give these characters a better end during that bullet hell sequence. And I believe the longer you last, maybe the more of that ending like sequence that you get. Because I did get pretty far before I lost, but I don't know if it's like kept that way. At least in the game, because I never really had time to like look into that. Even though it was really interesting to me, and there was somebody in my chat at the time that was like explaining it and linked me like a big like wiki page of how that stuff was. I
know the bullet hell is beatable. I don't know about the whole like segmented bits of the ending or anything like that, but I do know you can beat the bullet hell, and that's how you get the like true ending.
Yep. Which again, this is what we got here at the end with that. They just added a little bit more with the pods, with their sequence, but yeah, that's what you basically see is the fact that 042 and 153 go off on a mission to put all the androids back together, and that last little bit that you get in the game is 153 dropping off that last piece of 9S, but that's all I ever saw. So I don't know if that last little bit where they both wake up is in the game. So I can't confirm that.
I'm pretty sure it is they both wake up is the ending, but then we don't get anything beyond that. And that the additional bit here at the end with Accord and A2 is totally new.
Yeah. Because that's what that was. That was Accord that supposedly put A2 back together here. That's what this was, and this was definitely not part of the game.
Yeah, which this is something I've been sitting on for a bit now, because you've mentioned being curious about Accord and stuff like that. But I've been not saying anything. Accord is a character from Drakengard, and she is, generally speaking, like one of the biggest mysteries of the whole series. No one really knows who she is or where she came from. It's just she's an android, and she seems to just kind of show up and fix things whenever they're fucked up.
Got it. Yeah, that was something I was not aware of before this, so...
Yeah, no one really knows the who and what of it. It's just Accord of when things get like seriously fucked up, Accord just kind of shows up and puts things right and then disappears again.
Yep. So that was what it was. So this was like the true end of NieR that we got for like fighting for the data and fighting to protect your data. You get this really cool new title screen if you pull that off as part of your save file. It's one of the coolest looking, title screens as far as I'm concerned out there. It's a bunch of these like lunar tiers that's right next to A2 here, like the very NieR style format. So that was something cool to accomplish as a gamer in general. But no Emil. That surprises me, just in general.
Yeah.
Because all we had were the allusions to him, and it's not like he was completely removed from the series. And I will say, before we talk about that anymore, this episode was fine for what it was, what it needed to accomplish. I like what they did with it. It's fine. It establishes like a true canon ending to how Taro wanted to finish Automata, with how beloved the characters became and stuff like that, and kind of like flipped it from the tragic standpoint to a, not so tragic ending.
Yeah, and
like
it
hope
does
for the future kind of deal.
And it does actually confirm that there is still some connection between NieR and Drakengard in some way, shape, or form, because it actually confirms what people speculated for a long time now, that the Accord that the Resistance references is in fact the Drakengard Accord.
Yep.
Because that is her who shows up here.
So with her dropping that pipe bomb and leaving, I assume Accord will probably be part of the next game. So just have to see what that is. But that's something we talked about, was this is probably establishing a canonical ending that they can work off of on the next game, which they probably have been, because Taro probably knew how this, the anime was going to end for a long time before placed. So they've been working on that. But yeah, that establishes a set canonical end to Automata and what could be going for the future. Whether we get these characters in the next game, who knows? But Accord is obviously going to be very important now that we know what's going on with them. But the omission of Emil confuses me, because it's one thing if they had just left him out entirely, which would have been really weird. But we got that initial, they met him in the mall, and he rolls off, and that's the first interaction with him. We didn't get any of his, them running into him as like a vendor that he becomes. And we got the illusion and the shot of the Emil head under Pascal's village, which 9S hacks into in Season 1 and gets the memories of NieR Replicant and Project Gestalt and all that stuff, which he should have all that memory now. You know what I mean? Now that he's been fully restored by the pods. So...
yeah, so like... We got that initial bit with Emil, and we got the reveal of the Emil head under the village, but we never got Emil's hideout. We never saw Bus Emil. We never saw the whole thing of him going around and collecting the lunar tears, or any indication as to what he was up to with that, because even in the game you don't really know why he's collecting the lunar tears. You just know he's got some project that needs, I think it's something like 15 lunar tears for, and you have to go find them all around the map.
Yep. So presumably the lunar tears, at least as far as I understand from Replicant, they have some sort of magic power. So we'll just have to see. That's like the super TLDR of it. But
yeah, they have some very significant meaning to the whole like Dragonverse.
Yep. For all we know, they could be the thing that could have like cured humanity of the disease, something like that. But yeah, the omission of Emil kind of confuses me. Maybe he will have a more predominant role to play then in whatever the next game is, because once again, now that we can do full disclosure, he's basically a god, straight up. He's an engineered god. At the end of like after there was a project with his sister in Gestalt, and his sister was a failure. Then they moved on to him, and after all the testing and all the stuff that he went through and all the crazy magic stuff that went on with him, he basically became a god. That's simple.
Yeah, the whole thing with like NieR 1 is just that humanity is frantically trying to find some way to survive the virus after the bad end of Drakengard unleashes it on humanity. And so they come up with like dozens of different projects to try and stop the virus, to stop the disease. But they can't. None of them succeed. And ultimately it all falls down onto Project Gestalt, which the whole idea, once again, is to create artificial humans and just kind of hope that they advance to a point where they can potentially revive humanity after the disease has run its course.
Yep.
But among those dozens of other failed projects was, I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was Emil's project, where they're essentially trying to create a super being that could just wouldn't die to the disease.
Yep.
And Emil is a failed project, but even being a failed project, he is still far superior to pretty much any other being we have in the world now.
Yep. So, once again, TLDR, Emil is a big deal. Still is. I'm just going to hold out hope that he has a bigger role to play in the next game, because they had to have omitted him for a reason. You know what I mean? That's not the kind of character you just write out. He's too big of a part of the universe, you know what I mean? So they kind of made those allusions to him, like, hey, we're not forgetting about him. Don't forget about Emil, but we're not doing him right now. You know what I mean? So that's what it kind of feels like to me, which is fine as long as we get some sort of resolution or continuation of his story. But yeah, we'll just have to see what comes of that, because this seems like to be the canonical ending to NieR Automata, and this is how Ara wants it. I assume that's how it is. So
yeah. Which, once again, this is already basically the ending of the game. The only real addition we got here is just confirming that A2 is also alive. And, once again, confirming the thing that most people suspected already, who actually knew about Drakengard lore, that the Accord in the Nearverse is one and the same with the Drakengard Accord.
Yep. So,
but she is another godlike being, like on Emil's level.
Yeah. So that's cool that we got that. I like that as a thing to tie that in. That was cool. But yeah, the Emil stuff still kind of weirds me out, like the omission of characters like Jean-Paul. I mean, that was another one, not obviously as big of a Emil, but he was still a fairly important character. Some of the other side characters, like Angles not being around, was kind of weird, but not as big of a deal. Like in Descending Order, you know, like the samurai bot, some of the other side NPCs that you do stuff for, them being omitted, not as huge a deal, obviously, but still,
yeah,
you know, they could have like done like passing mentions to them. You know what I mean? Like they could have just been like, you know, there were plenty of times where like, you know, they were flying around with Pascal, or they were just walking around the city ruins, and they could have just like pointed the guy out. It's like, oh, hey, it's that samurai guy again, or whatever. You know what I mean? Just as like a passing nod to like, hey, yeah, we remember the NPC. There's a shout out, but he's not really going to be part of it.
Yeah, like Dojobot being omitted is fine. He doesn't really actually provide anything to the story, but it is kind of weird with how like prevalent he is in the side quests, because like you have to fight him like 8 or 9 times over the course of the story. Like he's one of the bigger recurring side quest guys.
Yeah.
So not getting him mentioned at all, but yet we have stuff like the shut-in bot that were cameoed in this.
Yep.
Is kind of weird. And the big thing for me with Jean-Paul is it would have been less weird if they just omitted him entirely. But the fact that they showed him in Pascal's village the very first time, and then went out of their way to show all of his connection to Beautiful Lady, which is not stuff that is just actually given to you in the game. You have to go out of your way to find the like extra logs and shit like that around the circus and in the forest region to actually and do a bunch of John Paul's side quests in order to actually get that backstory of his connection to Beautiful Lady.
Yep. So Stuff that you can do for a game that you can't necessarily do for a series, but there are ways, like I said, just in passing shots that they could have done for some of the side characters. But the Jean Paul thing, yeah, he was mentioned, it was shown, and definitely maybe they just didn't have a spot to put it, considering for this series, for the show here, Pascal's character was drastically increased in his participation and his relevance.
Yeah, that is like one of the biggest changes overall they made to this was the fact that they gave significantly more character to Pascal and put a lot more emphasis on like giving actual character to the Resistance members.
Yep.
Specifically, Lily and Jackass the most,
Right.
but even like Weapon Shop Vendor got some development and like actual screen time in this.
Yep. So as it stands, they did a pretty good job involving all those characters for like the season wrap up bit here, and just the series wrap up for what it is. Solid adaptation. It did pretty much everything it needed to do. The omissions that we've mentioned over the course of this reaction and review series, yeah, kind of weird, but it is what it is. The rest of it was a solid portrayal of just what needed to be shown off in the game. The additions to Pascal's character, fantastic. He's a great character. The additions that they did for him and the way he goes out there, solid. It made sense for what they were doing with the story. Swapping Lily for an M&A, or an M&A for Lily, fine. It worked for the story because we got that Hawaii mission, which we can only read about in logs in the game. So doing that
normally
was good.
Nope. Yeah, normally the only info you get on the Hawaii mission at all is some of the like hidden logs that you can get from an M&A.
Yep.
But in the game, an M&A has next to no real actual significance or anything like that. She just makes a few kind of sus lines towards 2B, like acknowledging that, she's a 2 unit. But there is no like actual real connection there the way they gave Lily the connection to A2 here.
Yep. So those bits of the story were solid changes to what needed to be done, and the alterations really don't affect how you can perceive the game because the game's a game, obviously. As far as I'm concerned, this has to be the new canonical story for NieR Automata. I think that's what Taro was trying to do here, was clean up some spots, make some additions, and make a like one-shot canonical story of Automata. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll just have to see going forward what the next game holds. But the omission of Emil here tells me that I assume he's going to be a fairly big part of the next game. So whether or not the next game is we go to where the arc lands or we stay here, we'll just have to see.
So that's the other thing I was going to mention is the arc. This makes me feel like Taro is essentially kind of writing off the arc for the most part. Like, in some of his original ideas, the arc was probably going to be a bigger part of the next game. But the fact that we didn't have anyone actually go on the arc in this ending, unlike the original E ending, makes me think that he's kind of moving away from that and going to try to still stick to Earth as the primary location.
Right.
Like, we might get some reference to like the girl in red coming back or something like that after her trip on the arc, but I don't think we're moving locations.
Right. Especially with this, Accord pipe bomb. I assume she might be a big part of the next thing as well. So yeah. As for, it took 19 minutes that time. You guys can't see the timer, but I can. Crunchyroll had it with me after 19 minutes and 20 seconds. Usually a bit longer than the average, but yeah. I enjoyed this for what it was. I think they did a pretty good job. The only thing that I'm going to criticize is the fact that they didn't get their ending straight for the skits at the end. Some of them were the endings that they were portraying in the skits or like the episode title, but a lot of them were not, and we had to clarify that in every single video we've done of this. Like the skit they did was not the ending that they like titled the episode. You know what I mean? Like when we got like the J ending or whatever, it's like that was not the J ending in the skit. The J ending happened like 3 episodes ago in that skit. You know what I mean? So that was the only thing that was kind of weird to me. Was it was cool that they were portraying the like alternate side endings and stuff like that, but they didn't have them in the right episodes. So that is what it is. All right then. I was rudely interrupted by my network controller on just this machine going out, so I lost internet and connection to Age. So I finished my thought, but if you guys were wondering why Age's face was just kind of stonewalled, stop moving there for like the last like 35 seconds or whatever that was, that's because this computer lost internet. Just this one. I don't know. This network controller, sometimes it just it dies randomly. I'm gonna probably switch out that Ethernet cable because I still have a hard link. It's the cable itself. But whenever I restart it, even without like moving the cable or unplugging it and plugging back in, it seems to function. So it might just be some weird software thing that I don't understand, and it has something to do with nanites and pods are out to get me. I don't know.
Free wait. I just hard line right here.
Yeah, I know, right? Bow chicka bow wow. Full Tucker. But yeah, either way, my problems aside, again, I enjoyed the show for what it was. I think it was a solid representation of what the game needed to be, and the most important bit is as long as Taro's happy with it, that's all I really care about. If this was how he envisioned it, cool, because the guy is a legend as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah,
looking forward to his next work. Absolutely. Any of his works are assuming I have enough money lying around, are a day one purchase. So
I gotta go lose another 200 hours trying to 100% the next one.
Yep, that'll be another stream, I'm sure. Several streams that hopefully won't get potentially deleted off the internet forever. But
and it's still not getting everything because it took people freaking 6 years to finally find everything in freaking Automata.
Right. Only very recently was everything found. Think about that. The game came out in 2017. So, either way, again, I enjoyed this. I'll have Victoria roll the typical stills of the week from this season, as is tradition. You got anything else you wanted to say for this one, Age?
Yeah, the ending skits were weird for me too, especially with I liked them. I like thematically the idea of naming the episodes after the endings, but there should have been at least some level of correlation or coordination there.
Yeah.
Not what we got, which was basically we're just going to throw random titles on every episode.
Right.
And they just happen to be the titles of the endings.
Yeah. So that again, that was only my one fairly major gripe, was that logistics problem. You know what I mean? All the episode titles made sense to the universe and all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But they could have easily highlighted different letters at different points and changed. You know what I mean? To make it make more sense with the skit that they were going to show. Or the episode titles could have remained exactly as they are, but they could have just put the right skit in at the end for that ending with that letter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the vast majority of the skits either were for endings that were different than the episode or weren't even endings in the first place.
Yep. So that was something we talked about after each one, so we don't really have to rehash that. But
yeah, and even a lot of the endings that they actually did do, they did them very differently.
Right. So if you want that full all endings of NieR Automata experience, I'm sure there's somebody who's cataloged all of them on YouTube. So if you want to see the actual game endings compared to what the skits were in the show, it's out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I personally know what all of them are because I got like half of them. Actually, like 60-something% of them in my playthrough. But then I'd also looked up how you get pretty much all of them because I was trying to get the 100%.
Yep.
And I didn't particularly care about spoilery shenanigans with the bad endings because none of the bad endings really do spoil much of anything. It's just like, oh hey, when you're on X mission, turn and leave.
Yeah.
Or in X mission, 2B will be hacked. Don't fix her.
Right. So yeah, again, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond if you're watching, we always appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Enemy Night in the dojo on the new channel. Still holding in some rage. It's going to be a while, especially if I don't get my original account back. But either way, again, I will do an update on that whenever that gets resolved in either direction. Hopefully it's in the correct direction. So that's it for NieR. Again, whenever there's another NieR title, whenever that comes out, I'm sure I'll stream it on Twitch and it'll show up on YouTube as well. So, we'll be starting our next set of shows next week, a whole new lineup of shows, and we will also be doing our first live action show thing when Peacemaker Season 2 starts at the beginning of August. So you guys are going to be seeing a lot of us for the next couple months because as opposed to our usual 4 things a week, Saturday and Sunday will also be getting something. So Wednesday through Monday. The only off day will be Tuesday because Tuesday sucks. Tuesday is the ultimate extra day. So if there's ever anything on Tuesday, it's for a very strange reason. As we try to get back on track here with our normal schedule after account terminated. So again,
I mean, in August we have that next hell of a short coming up, and pretty soon, we're supposed to be getting the next season of Hell of a Boss.
Yep. So maybe that'll be on Tuesday during all this madness. So we'll just have to see. But at this point, I believe I did announce what the next shows were going to be, but I'll do a final announcement. I don't want to do it in every video this week, just for the repetition or whatever. I know not everybody watches every show that we do, but it'll be at the end of Sakamoto Days episode 11. Because after that video, it'll be rolling into the new shows on that release cycle. So yeah, if you guys want to see the next set of shows that we're doing, you can either just wait till next week and see what we got, or at the in the Sakamoto Days episode coming up on Monday here in a couple days from this is released, it'll be at the end of the week. So we got all kinds of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Going full Michael Scott over here because they're not going to stop me from doing something with some bullshit. So everybody, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.